Good evening and welcome to ArsenalFanTV Extra. So joining me tonight to discuss the Paris Saint-Germain game, I've got Mo. Welcome to the show, Mo.
How's it going, guys?
And joining me again, ArsenalFanTV Extra, FK. Welcome, FK.
Hey, Mems. How you doing?
Good, good. I want to get straight through to the calls. We've got loads of fans who are calling me in, but I just wanted to give you guys a little opportunity to talk about tonight's result. Obviously, 1-1. It could have been 6-0 at one point. Cavani missed a hatful of chances. We got off to a really bad start. Somehow we popped up and got an equaliser, and we could have even won it at the end. FK, what do you think of tonight's game? I mean, obviously, team selection. Wenger surprised a few people, a few curveballs in there. Started off Spina, played Alexis up front. What do you think of tonight's performance and team selection, my man?
Well, team selection, I was amazed. I mean, after what happened last year in the group stages, you know, the disastrous sort of opening day against Zagreb, with all the team changes, I honestly thought we'd go full strength tonight. And, you know, it's PSG away. You want to show them a bit of respect and go with your strongest team. And so I was amazed. I mean, from Ospina through to even Coquelin and Iwobi, and it just seemed like a bit of a shuffled team. The performance itself, I think PSG deserved to beat us. I don't think we deserved anything out of the game. I know we could have won it in the end, which is a bit bizarre. But it's definitely a point gained. And actually, I don't think it's that bad a result. I mean, before the game, I said that PSG are quite a good team. They've got lots of good individual players, and I probably would have settled for a draw. Obviously, you want to win, but I think that's definitely a point gained. And, you know, a few more games to go. Giroud a bit stupid at the end, but I don't think we can sleep tonight thinking that, you know, we were unlucky or that we dropped any points. I think it was definitely a point game for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Cavani missed a couple of guilty chances, and we have to thank really David Ospina, FK. You know, I mean, like myself, I was pretty surprised that he started today, but he sort of like, you know, showed his selection by putting off, I think, about 4 or 5 saves, to be honest. And you know, I don't understand if you've got Peter Cech who's fit, he has to start. Mo, what's your take on the team selection, starting Ospina and generally the field of the game, mate?
Yeah, I mean, on team selection first, I think one thing that frustrates me with football fans in general is that we're all quite reactionary, and we kind of always feel as though the ends always justify the means. And for me, it doesn't work like that. At any point in time, you have to make a call as to whether the decision is the right decision or the wrong decision. You can't then just reverse your mind. You can't then change your mind 90 minutes later and say, oh, actually, no, it was the right call. Arsene Wenger had to make a call at a point in time, just how as we as fans have to make a call at a point in time. And before that whistle went, before that first whistle went of this game, it was the wrong thing to do to leave your best keeper on the bench in your toughest and opening Champions League group game. It's just the wrong thing to do. As it turns out, on this occasion, unlike last year, David Ospina had a superb game. And none of us actually doubt his ability. You know, it's not that we're complaining about Ospina playing because we don't think he's a talented keeper. We know he's a brilliant keeper. It's just that I think we're quite unanimous in saying that Peter Cech is just better. So I find it very, very frustrating that Arsene Wenger showed the same arrogance again, second year running, to start with a reserve keeper. And the fact that Ospina played brilliantly, for me, doesn't justify it. They're two separate conversations. Was it the right lineup, and how did Ospina play? It was an incorrect lineup, and Ospina was probably a man of the match.
Mo, why did he? I mean, you said that he showed his arrogance of last season. I mean, we saw the start of the Champions League last season when Wenger played Ospina and he had a particularly bad game against Olympiacos and against Zagreb. He's done it again this season. Why do you think he's doing it?
Arsene Wenger, Look, it must be quite tough. If you think about it, it must be quite tough to keep a player of Ospina's quality happy, not playing week in, week out at this club. So, you know, whilst the game was going on, I was thinking to myself, maybe Arsene Wenger feels as though the damage Ospina can do in, let's say, 6 Champions League group games, and I'm not saying that as if he's a bad keeper. I'm just saying that the marginal damage he could do more so than Cech through his errors in Champions League group games would be offset by an increase in terms of what benefit he can provide by being in our team, by being in our squad. So Arsene Wenger might just be looking at it from that point of view. I'd rather keep him happy by letting him play these 6 games because overall the benefit would be greater. And maybe that's the only way Arsene Wenger can manage those two keepers in our squad. If he said to him, look, you can play the FA Cup games, you can play the League Cup games, Ospina might say, do you know what, no, that's not good enough for me. So, you know, what would the alternative be? If he doesn't offer him this and says, look, you know, you're not playing in the Champions League, and Ospina said, fine, I want to go, then who would our second choice keeper be? And when, you know, we need someone to step in for Czech, we could be even more of a disadvantage. So I'm just throwing that up there as a devil's advocate sort of argument as to why he might be doing it, kind of pleasant defence of Arsene Wenger. But in an unpleasant defence of Arsene Wenger, it would be because Arsene Wenger only knows his way. He's very stubborn, and he has an air of arrogance about him, and he made the call last year, didn't work out for him, so he's going to persist with it until it comes good for him. And we haven't seen this just in terms of the keeper selection for Champions League games. We've seen it, you know, in terms of signings. We've seen it in terms of many different areas in the club. Arsene Wenger's a stubborn character. Could be as simple as that.
FK, do you want to come back to Mo's points? Is Arsene Wenger stubborn? Is he, or is he just playing Ospina in the Champions League games as going to be a cup goalkeeper and plays Peter Cech as a league goalkeeper? Me personally, if you've got Peter Cech as your goalkeeper, you've got to play him regardless. He's your number one keeper, isn't he?
Yeah, look, Arsene Wenger is stubborn. I think everybody knows that. The whole cup keeper thing really irritates me, actually. I mean, Mo makes a good point. I mean, I appreciate that there's a need for that, and all clubs do it all over the shop. But when we signed Petr Cech, we all thought that he was going to be the goalkeeper that we needed for years and years. You know, he's top drawer, proven at the highest level. He's won every trophy you can imagine whilst playing in England. And, you know, I just can't understand why, like you, why he wouldn't start him in our most important and biggest Champions League group game. I mean, PSG away, it's the opening one. You want to make sure you get off to a good start. David Ospina hadn't played for Arsenal in over 5 months. I think the last game he played was at Upton Park when we drew 3-3, and I can't remember him having a great game that day. I just thought, you know, with a new centre back as well, Mustafi, he was just trying to get to know things. You know, he's trying to settle into the system, settle into the team. Why disrupt it so early doors? I actually, you know, I do wonder if Petr Cech was set to sign for Arsenal again today, and he knew that he'd be, you know, number 2 goalkeeper for Champions League and FA Cup. Arguably, you know, we've got more chance of winning the domestic cups than any other trophy. Would he have signed for Arsenal knowing that he would have been number 2? I mean, if I was him, I'd be really disappointed. But yeah, Ospina's made some good saves, but you can't forget, I mean, he's made a lot of mistakes leading up to the good save. So he's kind of redeemed himself, but he just doesn't fill me with much confidence, I'm afraid to say.
I totally agree with you, FK. Guys, if you're watching us live, we've now got 1,500 people watching us live, so thank you very much. Robbie is in Paris as we speak, doing his interviews outside the stadium, and those videos are going to be uploaded as soon as this show is finished. If you want to tweet the panel tonight, if you want to tweet Mo and FK, use the hashtag ArsenalFanTVextra. The guys are going to be reviewing your tweets and going to be reading out the best ones. I've got a number of calls waiting. First caller tonight is Colin. How you doing, Colin?
Oh, Mems, you don't want to know, mate. You don't want to know. I swear to God.
It could have been a lot worse, Colin, mate. It could have been a lot worse. We somehow managed to get a point, you know, so it could have been a lot worse. I was expecting you to come on and absolutely go into one, but it's not so bad on the great scheme of things, is it, Colin?
Nah, you know what, Mems? I'll take a point if I'm honest with you, because we don't deserve it. Simple as that. First of all, why you starting Ospina? I mean, fair play to him. He didn't do anything wrong. But you start your number 1 goalkeeper if he's available. It's that simple. And defensively for the PSG goal, what were we doing for that goal? I mean, is this supposed to be a Champions League game or a friendly?
Yeah, I don't think we switched on. I don't think they just caught us off on the back foot. It's so early. I think it was about 45 seconds, wasn't it, Colin? So I don't think the guys were alive. But to be fair, Colin, they've missed about 6 or 7 chances. Ospina's kept us in it, and we've managed to get a goal late on. So it wasn't that bad. And we were talking to FK and Mo. I mean, we spoke about the Ospina situation. What about Alexis Sanchez, Colin? I mean, at the end of the day, he started a game up front. He wasn't really playing particularly well. As soon as he went out to that wing, he looked a different player.
That's the thing, Mems. You know, this is a huge bugbear of mine. I've always been an advocate of you play players in their correct positions. You know, for example, if a player's like left-footed or whatever, and you play him at right back, he might struggle in that regard. But Alexis is not a striker, quite clearly, because he's not the stature of Giroud, and by that I mean he's not got the height that Giroud has. Because when Giroud came on, we instantly looked better.
More shape.
For me, that is not a coincidence. You move Alexis to the right or the left on the wing where he should be. Me personally, I prefer him on the right. You put Ozil in that number 10 role. You stick Giroud or Perez up front because they're both strikers. I mean, I couldn't understand why we were playing a winger up front and we have two natural strikers on the bench.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't make sense to me, Colin, to me. I mean, we saw the impact Alexis had the minute he went back out onto the wing, and we just looked a totally different player. Colin, I'm going to get your opinion on your calls to Mo. Mo, what do you think of Colin's call and Alexis? Isn't he not a striker? I mean, we've discussed it many times with FK. How do you feel about Alexis Sanchez up front? I mean, I've seen Alexis Sanchez play up front probably 10 times for Arsenal. He's never really delivered. Colin, thank you very much for your call. We're going to go to Mo. Thank you, Colin.
The whole conversation about if Alexis is a good striker or not really should not even have a conversation. The very fact that we're even talking about this is, to me, just an indication of the very erratic and irrational decisions that are taken at this club. The fact that Alexis Sanchez, in his first season in English football, scored 25 goals, and in the second season in English football scored, I think it was 17 goals, not even counting all the assists. He's been brilliant for 2 years. When someone comes in and starts doing brilliantly, just like that, just how Alexis has, where you've got no complaints with him, why on earth would you change that? Now, one example, one argument as to why you might say, right, you might change a player that's working wonders in the position that he wants to play in, is where you don't have the resources to fill a more important position. I'd say more strikers on average win a club the league than wingers. There's obviously exceptions, but strikers are absolutely central to winning your leagues and to making the difference over a season, more so than wingers, in my opinion, unless you've got an exceptional winger. And that's why you see the very, very best players gravitating to that role. Like you look at Ronaldo, he could be a winger, but no, they put him up front because that's where people make the difference. Now, why is it that Arsenal have ever decided to take such a big plus point away from the team in Alexis Sanchez on the wing in order to try and benefit the team in a different way up front? We are not in a position where we need to take away from the team to add to the team. It should never have been done like that. It's simply a case of, Alexis, you're brilliant where you are, you stay where you are. You are not the solution because we're creating another problem. It absolutely baffles me. So whether he's a striker or not shouldn't be a conversation, but given that it has now become a conversation because of a very irrational decision at the club, no, he's not a striker. And if there was ever a game to absolutely hammer that point home, today was that day, because he looked brilliant when he was back in his normal position. It's not like we haven't seen this before, but this was on the biggest stage, and we were horrendous before that point, before Giroud came on and Alexis went into natural position. So this was an absolute, just completely exposed for the world to see. Stop the experiment. It's not working. Don't try it again. He's not a striker.
Couldn't agree more with you, Mo, and well said. I mean, FK, we've seen this with Theo Walcott as well, haven't we? We've seen the experiment of trying to convert him into a striker. What Mo said is 100% right. The minute Alexis went out to that wing, he was tracking back, he was winning the ball, he got his ball at his feet, he's looking up, he's running at players. He can't play with his back towards goal. So what's going on, mate? Why does Arsene keep on trying it?
It's a difficult one to answer. I mean, I think Arsene Wenger, deep down, he knows that Giroud is his main man and he's going to be the main target man. I think he's trying to ease Giroud back in after the Euros. And I think Giroud's biggest problem over the last 3-4 years is that he's been played into the ground. And, you get moments in the season where Giroud goes on a really good run, he plays really well, scores goals in, in a sequence of games. And then when he's kind of almost mini burnt out, he struggles for 4 or 5 games, and that's exactly when he needs that rest. And I think he obviously, Walcott's been badgering on about wanting to play up front for a while. He's kind of tried it, didn't work out. Then, of course, he got, that really long injury, and he's just struggling to get back into the team really now. And I think he's accepted the fact that he's going to be wide right. I think Perez, because he made his debut on Saturday, maybe a Champions League away game debut was a bit too soon for him. Yeah. And of course, with Walcott's knee injury tonight, maybe Wenger didn't have so many options but to play Sanchez up top, knowing that he could bring in Iwobi on the left and the Ox on the right, both of whom weren't hugely influential tonight, I thought.
Bit disappointed with the Ox.
Yeah, I mean, the Ox, we'll probably talk about the Ox in just a bit. I mean, Sanchez is getting a lot of stick on Twitter, actually, Mems, if I may refer to a couple of the tweets. I mean, there's people coming in sort of saying, what are we basically persisting with Sanchez up front for? He's being wasted. It's just a waste of a player. It's pretty much what Mo was saying about, his talent is out wide on the left, and you could see that as soon as he went back out there, he was much better.
But FK, if I may, in defence of kind of some of these tweets, I personally haven't seen anyone give Alexis any stick. It's really the choice of where we're deploying him.
That's what I mean. I mean,
Arsene Wenger is getting the stick.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, people are basically saying that Alexis is wasted up top. So yeah, it's actually criticising the boss. I mean, there's one here from Jude. Drop Sanchez for at least a month. We'd see much more improved performances.
Drop.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about dropping him for a month, but I suspect what Jude is trying to say, that he is ineffective up top, and unless you're going to play him in his right position, why are you persisting? Pretty much what Mo's saying. So, but I think tonight, you look at those situations, you look at Walcott's injury, you look at Giroud, who he's probably just trying to ease in. You look at Perez, who made his debut, and he's probably doesn't want to just throw him into the Champions League away as a debut. And maybe that's the only option that he had today, which, he's brought on himself, but that's probably the reason why he's played him.
Fair enough, FK. Thanks very much. Guys, I'm going to take another call. We've got Kenny Ken who's joining us. Good evening, Kenny. What do you think of the game, mate?
Hello, Mo. How are you? You all right, mate?
Mo?
How's it going? How's it going, Ken?
No problem, mate. How you doing, Kenny? Yeah, no, we're good. Mo's here, FK's here, I'm Self here. You're live on the show, mate. What do you think of the game, Ken?
First half was atrocious. All the things that annoyed me that we do in Europe year after year. No tracking back, not picking up the runners, defensive naivety, no penetration up front. Yeah. The first goal was abysmal. Iwobi didn't track back and help Monreal, and Aurier put a great cross in, unmarked Cavani, 1-0. And it was basically in the first half, what happened was I thought a lot of people criticised Cavola, and I think that's a bit unfair. I think what PSG noticed is that Cavola is our brain of the team. So by doing that, Verratti and Rabiot kind of cut off with spaces, because if you cut off the spaces to Cavola, then you cut off the supply to Ozil, and in turn cut the supply to centre forwards, which was Sanchez at the time. So in that respect, we were really, really poor. I thought Coquelin was poor as well. He wasn't runs from Verratti and Rabiot, and they were just walking through us at will. And their ball retention was a lot better than us, and the movement. And I thought Aurier was making some great runs down the right, and I thought Iwobi was like a lamb to slaughter. And I think in the second half, he kind of changed it and put your oxlade-chamberlain on the left. And I thought he could track Aurier a lot better.
Yeah, he did.
But I heard your point about Alexis Sanchez, about playing up front, and I just want to sort of just look at it from a different view in terms of what Arsenal was thinking. You can play Alexis Sanchez up front by all means, but you've got to have movement and support around him. And if you have movement and support around him, then you get an effective player, because you've got to look at it. It's two of the best players in the world, in Ronaldo and Messi, are not natural centre forwards, but they are playing in that sort of fulcrum and that thing because they've got runners off them and they're getting support in that situation. So they never have to play with their back to goal, because they have midfielders who are great suppliers, and they've got players who track back. Now, if Arsenal, because we're not moving the ball quickly enough, playing so football, then Alexis Sanchez looks like a lamb to slaughter. Yeah. You know what I mean? And by all means, play him on the left because that's his great position.
Well, he looked a totally different player, didn't he, Ken? We looked a totally different team when he moved to that left. I just couldn't understand it. I mean, I agree with you about the PSG right back. I thought he was the best player on the pitch, and I agree with you again. I don't think Iwobi was tracking back and helping out Monreal, and you made some really good points there, Ken. But I mean, overall, I mean, Ospina in goal as well, Ken. What do you think of that?
Well, in terms of that, I say one thing. It was never. Let's just nail this down. It was never down to personnel, okay? Because even if we had the same sort of personnel, we still make the same mistakes in Europe. We were making them last year, albeit we were spinning in goal. But the year before, our away form in Europe is atrocious. And I think all the panel are going to agree with that. And that's why we find ourselves in situations where we finish second in the group and we're in the last 16 against the top boys. Unless we improve away from home in Europe, then personnel is going to be irrelevant. I think, personally, that if Abriva Henrich was playing up front, we'd have lost about 5-1. And in terms of Ospina, second half he kept us in the game. I thought we were more aggressive in terms of our pressing, and more progressive when Giroud and Drew came on and we made the changes. And I think basically it was like, sorry to offend anyone, but I thought it was like the 40 Thieves went and nicked the point.
It was a bit like that, mate. We did somehow manage to get a point. Ken, listen, mate, you made some really good points. So I want to get back to your panel, and thank you very much for your call tonight, mate. I much appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the show, Ken.
Much. See you later, mate.
Cheers, mate. All the best, Ken. Ken is absolute legend. Mo, coming back to Kenny's points, we've been in the Champions League for 20 years. I mean, I've looked at the record over the last couple of years, and it's last 16. Kenny made some points that tactically we're kind of predictable in Europe, or we don't mix it up about. What is going on in the Champions League? I mean, do you think we can do something this year, or is it going to be much of the same?
No, realistically, I don't think we'll really make much of a splash this year in the Champions League. You've got Bayern, I think. You've got Barcelona that won 7-0 today. I know they're not playing great opposition, and we were playing very good opposition. But you know, those two teams that I mentioned are head and shoulders above us. And you know, to win the Champions League, you're probably going to have to face a team like that over 2 legs. And I think over a one-off game, over a 90-minute game at a neutral venue, we have a chance against anyone. I think over 2 legs against a team of that quality, it's going to be very, very difficult for us. And no, I don't expect us to really do much. I think semi-finals will, I hate to say it, but I think semi-finals will be a greatly successful Champions League campaign for us. A few points about today's game, though. Nacho Monreal was not stopping crosses into the box. If you look at the crosses Aurier got in, not just the one for the goal, but even after that, you would have thought Monreal would heed the warning, having conceded after 42 seconds from that source. Even then, there wasn't an urgency to block that cross. And that disappointed me a lot. It's just very basic. You've got someone like Cavani in there, who obviously, you know, he might not be great on the deck, but a cross comes in, and you don't want it to fall to a player like that. He can put the ball in the back of the net, even though he didn't really prove that today all the time.
No, do you think the supply chain to Monreal? I mean, I know you said that when what Kenny was saying is that Iwobi wasn't coming back and tracking. You see Arsene Wenger put Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain on the left-hand side. Do you think that the Monreal was a bit exposed but weren't getting support from his player in midfield?
He was, but then once you're already exposed, you've still got a decision to make. You can still deal with the situation as well as you can, or not as well as you can. And I don't think Monreal dealt with it as well as he could. If you just watch the clips where Aurier put the crosses in, you'll see that he's just kind of standing in front of Aurier, not kind of pressing and trying to make sure he gets something on that ball. He's just providing quite a weak obstacle. He should have done a lot more to block these crosses off. So I do agree with that point, but even then, I don't think it was good enough. And you know, watching Arsenal today, I was looking at PSG and I was thinking the way they played in the first kind of 30 minutes or even the first half of the game reminded me of the way Arsenal used to play.
High tempo.
There was a really high tempo. There was slick passing. There was a kind of an aggression, a powerful presence, you know, with their play. They weren't going to be bullied and that sort of thing. And I really thought, you know, wow, this is what Arsenal used to be like. And luckily in the second half, we played a lot better. But as people have been saying, had Cavani taken those chances, it would have been a completely different story today.
I agree with you, mate. I mean, you're talking about centre midfield. I mean, FK, I mean, one thing that I was surprised about tonight, no one's mentioned it yet, is the exclusion of Granit Xhaka. We spoke a couple of weeks ago after the Watford game, and he was probably the best player on the pitch. Since then, he was dropped this weekend, and he's been dropped tonight. We've paid £30 million for Granit Xhaka. Surely in Champions League games, you want him to start, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You want a player of his calibre to start. But John Bennett from the BBC was asking earlier on Twitter, just sort of saying, how is he not playing tonight? And I think it can only be one of two reasons, Mems. It's either he's just not fully fit yet post Euros, which gives massive question marks to me. Switzerland didn't get on too far, and he's had a good break, and he should really be up to fitness now. Or the second thing is that Arsenal, I think, is just being very careful with him, trying to ease him into the team and into the system, knowing that we've got other midfielders who can play. I'm as gobsmacked as you are. I think a game of this importance, if he's fit enough to be on the bench and he didn't play on Saturday, then he maybe should have played, because when he came on, you could see the impact he had in the team. So I'm surprised. I can only imagine that he's just not there quite 100% just yet. Hopefully he'll feature as a regular in games to come. And I think just speaking about the midfield, Mems, I do think we were a little disjointed tonight. Santi Cazorla wasn't his usual self. Coquelin, we know he tries hard, but he's limited on the ball. And Ozil drifted in and out. wasn't one of his strongest games. I think Ozil's game kind of relies on the outlets, which someone mentioned at the start about having options up front wanting the ball, and Robbie and Ox were just again drifting in and out, and they weren't providing too many outlets for him. So yeah, it was a bit disjointed in the midfield for me.
I agree. The midfield wasn't great tonight. But one thing I did notice, and I noticed a few people on Twitter commenting as well, is that Francis Coquelin seemed to be our most advanced player at one point. I found the balance of the midfield wasn't quite right. You had Cazorla, you had Coquelin, you had Ozil, and it just didn't seem like they didn't knew where they were playing. So it just seemed really weird tonight. Guys, I've got to take another call. Before I do so, just want to remind everyone out there that Robbie's out there in France doing his videos. If you want to tweet the panel, ArsenalFanTV Extra. I've got another call lining up. It's Sam. How you doing, Sam?
All right.
Not too bad, Sam. I was tweeting you during the game, and you was a bit upset at one point, but we managed to get a point. So, anything you want to say to FK and Mo, or what do you think of the game tonight, mate?
To be honest, mate, I'm lost for words, really. I don't know how we got away with that, to be honest with you. I mean, as I said, I was tweeting throughout the game. I wasn't very happy until really we struck, in the 78th minute or whatever it was. I mean, for me, team selection tonight was just way off. I just heard the panels there saying that they didn't think the balance was right. I have to totally agree. I mean, we just didn't we didn't set up right. It didn't feel right. The tactics that we set out in that first half, we saw first minute, were absolutely atrocious, really. Where was Wenger and everyone, the whole team say, that they've got a right back who likes to bomb forward, let's keep it tight. Di Maria kept cutting in from the right-hand side into left, finding space all over the place. No one was picking him up all game. It was just one thing after another. I was really, really disappointed with the performance again tonight. And to be honest with you, I'm concerned of how we're playing. Yes, we are picking up points, and I would have took a draw before the game started. That's a great result out there. But for me, the most worrying thing is the performance. It's just not looking good whatsoever. Why you would ever want to play Sanchez up front on his own? He's just not a striker that can do that. He can't play there. There was players all over the pitch who just didn't seem right to me. And I thought we looked a lot more solid when Xhaka got brought on and Alexis came out to the left, and it just seemed a bit more balanced. The whole team seemed a bit more settled when that happened. It was just really, really gobsmacked that we managed to snatch a draw, mate, tonight. I really am. I don't know what else to say. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. But
Sam, I mean, you basically made the points that which the panel have said tonight as well, mate, and well said. Thank you for your call, mate. I'm going to move on as well. Thank you, Sam.
Cheers, mate. Speak to you soon. See you later. See you guys. Bye.
See ya.
FK, we're going to talk about Sam's point as well. I mean, he's talking about team selection. He's talking about a couple of things. I mean, Iwobi tonight and Oxlade-Chamberlain, they started tonight. How do you think they did?
I don't think they had two good games actually. I think Iwobi kind of drifted in and out, showed his naivety. He didn't track back in the first half, and he got murdered by Aurier. And then of course Wenger switched the Ox in the second half, and the Ox kind of blows hot and cold. And I'm really frustrated with the Ox because I think we see glimpses of talent from him. Everybody knows he's got something in him. He's got ability, but he's just so inconsistent. And it just seems like his head's just not quite right. Or, either it's a confidence thing or it's a morale thing. But, Wenger's given him a bit of a run in the team at the minute. And it just doesn't quite get going for him. Iwobi's obviously an exciting talent, but he's young. He's still learning his trade. And, it's a big stage today, a big stadium, Champions League, one of the best teams in Europe that he's come up against. So, he'll just take that as a learning thing. But, the selection was brave. You've got two relatively young players, quite inexperienced at this kind of stage. And I know Ox has been at Arsenal for a long time, but you can't, if you've got Iwobi and Ox playing as two of your front three as a team that's serious about competing in the Champions League, you're miles off. And this goes back to Mo's point about the European giants that we all know. I mean, they're in a different class to us. They're in a different league. I mean, we're just, we shoot ourselves in the foot with the group stages year on year. And once or twice when we do get a favourable draw, we mess it up because we're tactically inept, or we don't have enough variety in our play, or we're too easy to read, or, sometimes we get a bit of bad luck. But, you can't rely on those two, Iwobi and the Ox. And there's nothing against them. I think they'll be fine players in the future. I hope they do. But today, they're just not at that level yet.
No, I agree with you, mate. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Ox, and I think, like yourself, I think he's just low on confidence. And I think if he does get a good run of games, and he will develop into a star player. With Iwobi, I think he's the type of player you can have as an impact player, have him on the bench and bring him on. But I agree with you. When we play the big boys in Europe, I think these type of players are going to be found out. I mean, you say it was a brave selection. It was, Mo, because if this tonight would have gone badly wrong, I think a few question marks would have been called for Arsene Wenger. And I had a number of calls who wanted to come on, and say some negative things about Arsene Wenger. Are we a bit harsh on Arsene Wenger, do you think, Mo? Or do you think after 20 years in the Champions League, he should have his tactics together and he should have much knowledge together? I mean, what's your feelings there? I mean,
no, we're not too harsh on him today because we should be asking the questions today. As I say, the ends don't always justify the means. He made incorrect decisions today. The fact that we got out of this game with a draw is not down to Arsene Wenger. It's down to very good fortune, Cavani's inability to finish, and Ospina having a very, very good game. It's the questions of Arsene Wenger are definitely valid today. And I'm not someone that slates Arsene Wenger unnecessarily. I've got no agenda. I don't have an acronym after my name. I do like to defend the guy as much as I can because I really like him. But today, no, he got it completely wrong. So, yes, we should ask the questions. But I do also think that we have to look at PSG and say, well, they were very good. They are a very good team, and they were very good today. They were playing with a real swagger at one point. And even if Arsene Wenger made all the right calls and got it right tactically, they still would have been hard to live with. And had Cavani been on a better day, no matter what we did today, I think they showed us that they are really capable of putting teams to bed. And we're just very lucky that they didn't. Well, one thing I noticed about the game today, Arsenal very sloppy in possession. With our passing was incredibly frustrating, and we are meant to be a good passing team. And I'll just put in a question out to you guys, but I want to make another point as well. But the question, and you can let me know after I'm done: are we a great passing team anymore? I guess as an answer to that anymore. And the other thing I wanted to say was, PSG, I think they'll be quite disappointed with themselves in terms of how often they gave the ball away, especially in the second half, in quite dangerous positions. And Arsenal showed a complete inability to take advantage of that. There were many, many times where I was on the edge of my seat thinking, we've won the ball back in a great area, what are we going to do with it? And these really good opportunities to get a good shot on target and to test their keeper ended up in nothing. So PSG, were far from perfect in the second half, and Arsenal, our sloppy passing today was really, really damaging us. Not only was it inviting more pressure onto us, but it really prevented us from converting what should have been really good opportunities, where we were kind of 3-on-3 at the back or that sort of thing, from really getting shots off on target. And a big part of that, again, comes down to that striker issue, because where there wasn't enough movement in front of the ball, you might be 3-on-3, but we were very easy to play against, very easy to defend. And the final thing, a positive, I thought Mustafi was really good today. I thought he... I thought he looked really good, and, not absolutely perfect by any means, but he doesn't look like he's playing his second game for the club. He doesn't look like he's playing, making his Champions League debut away from home for the club in such a big game. So, that's a positive I think we can definitely take from today. I thought it was very good.
I agree, mate. Well said, and it's nice to have a positive. I mean, you asked a question, Mo, about are we a good passing side? In my opinion, Mo, I mean, if you're a good passing side, you've got to have some end product. And with us, we don't have enough end product, enough cutting edge. I can't remember the goalkeeper. Like, he made one save when Iwobi saved it, and the rebound, Alexis scored. But how many other saves did he make? I mean, before I bring the next call in, FK, I mean, what do you think on Mo's point? I mean, are we a good passing side? Are we as attacking as we used to be? I mean, what's going on? What's changed at Arsenal?
I think we are a good passing side. I think on the whole, in the majority of our games, we do play kind of neat, technically good football. We're not as great as we used to be, clearly. And I think, you're going to have off days. But today, you look at the opposition, they had a very, very good midfield full of experienced players. I mean, Verratti's a wonderful player.
Yeah.
Krychowiak's a good player. Rabiot, and obviously Matuidi playing out wide but tucking in. I mean, that's a pretty tough midfield to go up against. And we've got Iwobi, who's relatively new to the team, Ox, who's blowing hot and cold, Coquelin, who we know is a very passionate player but quite limited on the ball, Ozil drifting in and out, and of course, who else did we play? Cazorla, who actually, to be fair...
He was anonymous. I even forgot he was playing as well, mate. Don't worry.
To be fair, Santi normally is very, very, very good on the ball, but PSG pressed us. We didn't get any chance to build any tempo. We didn't win the ball back quick enough. We some loose kind of passes. So yeah, midfield-wise, it wasn't one of our better performances tonight. But on the whole, we are generally quite a decent passing team. But from recent years, the biggest difference is that we've just missed that cut and thrust up front. There's that lack of penetration that comes from not having an elite centre forward or not having the right movement for our midfielders to play balls into feet. And to finish with the positive, yeah, Mo's absolutely right about Mustafi. I think he looks like he's been playing at Arsenal for a while. There's a tweet from at Michael Akintomo who's basically asked the panel thoughts on Mustafi. Kiss praise, Kiss_praise. It says Mustafi was great, still learning to partner King Cos. He had a tough game though, but I think Arsenal fans are realising that Mustafi looks like he could be the real deal. And I know he's only 2 games in, but it's very encouraging.
Guys, let me just press you on the question, because I didn't say are we a good passing team. I didn't say are we a decent passing team. I said are we a great passing team. We used to be a great passing team. It's quite hard to admit, the Wenger ball system that we take so much pride in. Are we a great passing team? So I mean, yes or no, and also everyone that's watching as well. Let me know what you think as well. I'd like to get a general opinion on this. I personally don't think we are a great passing team anymore.
I don't, and I'll tell you what. I'm going to get another person's opinion to your question, mate. I've got Claude, who's on the phone, waiting patiently to come in. How you doing, Claude?
Hello, boys. I see you've got 2 great intelligent speakers on tonight, by the way.
We've got another one in you as well, mate. So thank you for joining us.
No. Listen, I'm going to put it to both of the boys there. I don't think our midfield is perfectly balanced, and I don't think Arsenal has got doesn't know his best 11 at the moment. I don't know what the boys think. We're so disjointed, and I agree with Mo. I mean, the passing is awful. It's not the same anymore. I mean, we don't pass the ball properly anymore. We don't, and there's no. We're playing all these little patterns around the box. We don't have that someone in that box when the ball goes across as well. It's so. I don't know. I think another poor performance today. We got lucky with another lucky result, I thought, today, and I just don't know what the boys think.
FK, you want to come back?
No, I think Claude's right. I think definitely wasn't a very good performance, got away with the draw. I'll take that point all day long, because when you look back and reflect on the game, Claude, we were definitely the secondary team. PSG, all day long, they could have scored 3 or 4 goals if they had a more clinical striker than Cavani. And I know Ospina's made some good saves, but he's also made some errors to lead up to the good saves. So with regards to the passing, yeah, I think, again, Claude's hit the nail on the head. We missed that elite centre-forward who's that outlet for all the little moves that we do on the edge of the box, which seem a bit boring and a bit tiresome when you haven't got the outlet. I don't think we cross as well as we should. You've got someone in Olivier Giroud who is a very good threat in the air, and the number of times, Bellerin and Monreal get to the byline and they just, they're these sort of floating kind of up and under crosses that never get anywhere or just roll straight out of play. I think we could be much better at that. But yeah, you're comparing this team to the likes of 2003, 4, 5, 6, where we had an amazing balance of pace, power and technique, and our pass football was just far superior. So that's pretty much what I think on what Claude was saying.
Mo,
but we spent a lot of money. We spent £90 million, and it don't seem to me we've got any further with that much forward. I know there's. What is Xhaka doing on the bench tonight? What's all that about? So Watford, he was brilliant. He was our best player against Watford, and yet he's on the bench tonight. I don't understand what's going on. All right, I don't blame you. Ospina didn't do too bad in the end, but then why change the goalkeeper? That first goal. I wonder if it's because of the understanding with the goalkeeper, with the centre halves, as well, with that ball come over. Why are we changing the goalkeeper after 3 games? I don't understand it. I really don't understand what's going on.
Claude, you make some good points. Claude, to be honest with you, I was speaking about this earlier on, and Mo, I want to bring you in as well. What Claude mentioned as well is that he doesn't think Arsene Wenger knows his best starting 11. You looked at the Leicester team and the Chelsea team 2 years ago. They knew their starting 11 every week, and it never changed. With us, it might take a couple of weeks, but sooner or later, Arsene Wenger's got to get his balance right and stick with that starting 11.
No, I disagree. I think Arsene Wenger does know his best 11. Without a doubt, I think he knows his best 11. But we've always complained as Arsenal fans that injuries are inevitable. We have to have strength and depth in our squad. Now, what I'd say now, Arsene Wenger has finally reacted to that. We've got basically 2 players in every position. Arsene Wenger knows we always get injuries. He's done exactly what we want, and he's got that strength in depth. There's 2 players in every position, and with that, you bring another challenge to the table. How do you keep them all happy? How do you keep them all, on that match sharpness level where they can come in and play? And for that, you have to rotate. So I think Arsene Wenger knows his best 11. If you say to Arsene Wenger, it's the Champions League final tomorrow, he knows exactly the 11 players that he would like to start in that game. But I think what we're seeing here is him dealing with the other challenge of having real competition in the squad. Because I do feel as though at the start of this season, we said we need a centre-back, we need a midfielder, we need a striker. And no one was asking for more than that. We said ourselves that's what we need to have a fully competitive squad. And I'm not saying that we necessarily got the right people. I don't think Perez is the player that I wanted, for example. But the fact of the matter is, in each position, we have got real competition. So now we're going to have to be a little bit patient and understanding that Arsene Wenger is going to have to manage that squad now. So I do think he knows his best 11.
Yeah, but hold on a minute. You're going on about changing, making changes and doing all that. Well, that's what Ranieri done a few years ago. Kept tinkering about with the team, kept playing, changing the team, and look where that got on. Now, you can't. You play your best. You play your best 11, and when the player gets injured, then you change it. Or when they need it freshening up, you change it then.
But if you don't play a player for weeks on end,
every week, if you don't have the same team every week in, week out, and you're going to keep changing the team, you're not going to get a consistent pattern with the team, are you?
But then, Claude, on the other hand, if you don't play players and they come in after 5 weeks only when someone gets an injury, they're not going to be at that level of match sharpness. And also, they're not going to be happy to just sit there on the bench. Rotation, when you're playing more than 50 games in a season, I think is necessary. I think last year, when you look at Leicester winning the league, they were in that ideal position where they were absolutely forced to play the same players over and over again because they didn't have that strength in depth, and they were very lucky with injuries. I'd rather have that, trust me. I'd rather play your best players.
And they won the title keeping the same team every week, didn't they? They won it.
But Arsenal don't have that fortune with injuries, so we can't have it both ways. I think as fans, we need to decide, do we want Arsene Wenger to just play the same players as much as he can all the time, and then we won't complain when they get injured. We won't complain when someone comes in who's not at the level that we want them to be at because strength and depth? Or are we going to say, do you know what? He has to have a full roster of 25 players, and we're going to have to make some sacrifices to make them all happy. I think over the course of an entire season, the second approach is going to be better for us.
Claude, thank you very much. I'm going to end your call now, mate.
Cheers,
I've got one more call. Thank you very much for the call, Claude.
Cheers, mate. Cheers,
mate.
boys.
Claude,
Yeah, Claude.
Bye, Claude.
Always, you know. But he makes some good points, Claude, at the end of the day. You know, I disagree with you, Mo. I think you do need to have your stable, selective team. And then, of course, if players then get injured, then you rotate then. But if you've got a stable team, then you really need to stick by it week in, week out. FK, do you want to come in on that while I get the next final call ready?
Yeah, I think there's two points to it. I think had there not have been a Euro tournament, and I think had we have done our transfer activity a little earlier, I think you probably would have seen a more settled team in the first 3 or 4 games. I think Wenger's made a few changes. What I don't like is the wholesale changes. You know, when you go into the Champions League, I know it's a different competition, but why you're changing your goalkeeper, you've got a new centre-back, you're bringing in a new left winger, a new central midfielder, it just doesn't make sense to me. I think one thing that I would like to see Wenger change, and Ferguson used to be exceptional at this, and Mo touched upon it, you know, sometimes we go weeks where certain players just don't make appearances. Ferguson, when Manchester United used to be, 2-0, 3-1 up in a game, last 20 minutes at Old Trafford, he would always obviously inject in a youngster as part of their development, and he'd always rotate the squad and take someone off after 60, 70 minutes, give someone else 20, 30 minutes, and he'd always keep those kind of players fit. And so that when they were ready to be called into action, they'd literally come in and hit the ground, maybe not sort of running, but certainly jogging, or, you get what I'm trying to say. And I think Arsene Wenger there, he tends to make the same substitutions all the time. So, he'll always take off a wide forward at 70 minutes and bring on another wide forward, or take off a striker. Very rarely do I see him say, right, Bellerin's played 4 or 5 games on the spin, let's get Debuchy on for 20 minutes when you're 2 or 3 up in a home game. And that way, not only does Debuchy get a game, I'm not saying you can change the goalkeeper, because it's very rare you substitute goalkeepers, but, give 20 minutes to Kieran Gibbs now and again, give 20 minutes to Debuchy, keep them, just keep the engines kind of running, keep them purring, so that if Bellerin does get an unexpected injury, then Debuchy kind of comes in and, he's not unfamiliar with the team, and he's played a few minutes here and there, and it's not a shock to the system. So that's something that I'd like to see Wenger change. I mean, I don't mind the fact that he does substitutions at predictable times, but he can certainly spice that up a bit. There are games where we are comfortable, and there's no reason why he couldn't give unusual players or unpopular players, a few minutes here and there, because I think it's really beneficial for the squad.
Things up a bit. We're going to wrap the show up in a bit, FK and Mo. If I can ask you to check your tweets and just dig out the final ones while I get his final call on. I've got a gentleman who's been waiting patiently from Greece. Kalispera, Dimitri, how are you?
Kalispera, man, Sam. I don't know, man. It's really good that we got away with 1 point, but I have to be honest, we really got away with murder tonight.
Yeah, we did.
What I have to comment about the game is, first of all, about the team, I feel that you shouldn't rotate the team, especially at very crucial games like this one. I mean, you have to go with a stable starting 11 and give it your best. You can't really rotate and try new things, because tonight you had 2 players, Iwobi and Blaine, where they were not really good. The Ox really bottled it for me tonight. Ozil was really poor as well.
He was. It's the first person that said that tonight, Dimitri. Ozil did have a poor game tonight. I agree. It doesn't matter how the stature in the team. If you have a poor game, you've got to people got to pick him out, and he was poor tonight.
Exactly. And 2 things I made out of the game was, first of all, I've told you before that tonight you saw 2 teams. PSG had a really, really energetic and quick midfield, but they had this physical presence up front with Cavani. We didn't have that in our midfield, even though it was energetic and, you know, pacey. We didn't have that thing that they had. If you check the game, you saw that PSG had the right player always at the right spot. They were linking brilliantly. We couldn't link together. And eventually this game, when the change came for when Giroud came on and Alexis went back on the wing, then we could link better, but it was like already too late. And if it wasn't for the superb bottling of Cavani, we would see a completely different game, man.
Or the brilliance of Ospina or the bottling of Cavani, what was it? So, yeah, you're right, mate. I mean, we should have lost probably about 5 or 6-1, but somehow we managed to get a draw and a point. Dimitri, thank you as always for your call, mate.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
I really appreciate your call,
night.
mate. Thanks very much, Dimitri.
Great point, Dimitri, there about Ozil, because, I think we all noticed it during the game, and no one's mentioned it. You're right. And Ozil was ineffective today. But again, Ozil thrives on runners, and we didn't have that.
It's true. Lads, anything jumping out on Twitter before we wrap up the show? Any points that you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
Yeah, there's a few. Sorry, Mo, if I've just cut in. There's a few of some different suggestions. People are asking what our strongest 11 would be, but there's one which we've not touched upon. Saduddin Mohammed, who is at MDSard008, who asks, what are our thoughts on Giroud getting the red card? Now, first of all, was it 2 yellows or was it a straight red?
I thought it was a straight red.
It looked like a straight red on TV, but then the commentator seemed to contradict that and say that he's shown them both a yellow.
Right.
And also, I've just seen some footage of it, which is that camera angle that we didn't get to see on TV. And I've just retweeted it. So if you can check out my timeline, do it. But amazingly, what's actually happened there is I think Giroud has just kind of blocked off Verratti as Verratti's running, but nothing major. But what's actually caused the sending off, and you might recall when you were watching the game, the camera was showing where the ball was, but there were kind of 2 separate noises from the crowd. So the first one was where Verratti hit the deck because Giroud blocked him off. And then the second one, Marquinhos has come over. He's pushed Giroud. Giroud has stumbled off the push, and then as he stumbled behind Verratti, he's then clipped Verratti's legs as Verratti's about to jog away. So Verratti's fallen over again. And then Marquinhos has pushed Giroud again. So in effect, what Marquinhos has done has somehow got 2 players a yellow card. They both happen to be second yellow cards and 1 on each team. It's absolutely bizarre, but you have to watch the clip to fully understand what I'm talking about.
Go and check Mo's Twitter out, and you can watch that clip. Is anything else on Mo that you've seen on Twitter that you want to touch on before we wrap up the show, mate?
No, I was actually going to use the same tweet that FK did, so I'll let FK go again if he's got another one.
Go on, FK.
Someone said Wenger rejected Aurier in 2014 and signed Debuchy. That's from Mohamed Benani at MHAMMED Guna. And he's kind of put tongue-in-cheek, well, Wenger knows. I think Serge Aurier, there was definite interest in from Arsenal, but he kind of went a bit crazy with his social media stuff.
I saw him wearing an Arsenal shirt.
Posing with his Arsenal shirt, and then he was tweeting, pictures of himself in an Arsenal shirt and all sorts. And believe it or not, that is exactly what I'd heard from someone at the club, that whilst we were interested, we wouldn't want to entertain someone who had such such a presence on social media with such baggage. I know it sounded really silly at the time, and I took pelters for it, but lo and behold, I think didn't he get in trouble for saying something about Laurent Blanc?
Laurent Blanc, didn't he? So
look, you can't doubt his talent. He was brilliant tonight, almost as if he had a point to prove. But he's obviously signed Debuchy, and that's that. Mo, anything else?
Yeah, and just to echo what FK is saying, I mean, I've heard from people within the club as well who have kind of like publicly and openly said this, that they do also consider kind of the mental element when signing a player, that player's character, that player's personality and that sort of thing. And I think, at the time I did hear that they had ruled out Aurier on that basis, that he was a bit of a loose cannon. And then since that decision had been taken, we've really seen that. I don't know if everyone has seen the video that he released about Laurent Blanc, but and other teammates, but it was horrendous. And also, if you just consider that he was kind of, trying to seduce Arsenal in a way by wearing an Arsenal kit, looking for that transfer, he was already committed to a club at that point. And you just consider if an Arsenal player was trying to engineer a move out of the club by doing that so openly on social media, we'd be up in arms. So yeah, really a player like that, I'm not surprised a club like Arsenal decided not to go for him. But to criticise Arsene Wenger on that, I think is a bit of a moot point, really, because 2 words, Hector Bellerin. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Hector Bellerin's come out from nowhere, and I think we've got the best young right back in the world. So, Sergio did have a good game tonight, but compared to Hector Bellerin, you're right, Mo. There's no choice. Guys, I want to thank you both, Mo and FK, for joining me on tonight's show. It's been really entertaining listening to you, and thank you very much for joining us, Mo. Thank you very much, FK. And thank you very much to the thousands who have watched us, 1,900 who are still watching us live. Thank you very much. This has been Arsenal Fans TV Extra. Mo, thank you. FK, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Stay tuned on Arsenal Fans TV. Robbie's going to be uploading the videos within the next 5 minutes, and I look forward to listening to all you guys, what you've been saying at the stadium. So thank you very much, and until next time, come on you Gunners. Cheers, lads.